When the world speaks of democracy, it points to Athens. Scholars celebrate the marble columns of Greece, the debates of Rome, the revolutions of Europe. But long before these civilizations claimed the birth of liberty, another people, thousands of miles away in the green heart of West Africa, had already built a living system of freedom, equality, and accountability. The Igbo of Nigeria. Here, in their city-states, no kings ruled, no emperors commanded, and no throne stood above the people. Power belonged to the assembly, the community. The voices of men, women, and elders gathered in the village square. This was not just government, it was democracy before democracy. To understand this extraordinary story, we must journey back in time. The Igbo, one of Africa's largest ethnic groups, settled in the forests and fertile valleys of southeastern Nigeria. Their history stretches into deep antiquity, linked with the Nok civilization, the iron smelters of Awka, and the mysterious bronzes of Igbo Ukwu. But unlike many of their neighbors, the Igbo developed not a single kingdom, nor a central empire, but a mosaic of city-states, independent villages, proud and self-governing. Each community, whether small hamlets of a few hundred or bustling towns of thousands, lived by the same principle, that no one man should hold absolute power. Family became lineage, lineage became clan, clan became village, and village became state. The Igbo wove a civilization from countless threads, tightly knit, yet never centralized. It was a society that puzzled outsiders. To European visitors, it seemed chaotic, even headless. But to the Igbo themselves, it was order born of balance.
This model of governance was what anthropologists later called as cephalus, a society without a head. But to the Igbo, it was not absence, but presence. The presence of the people, gathered in equality. At the heart of every city-state stood the village square, the Ama. Here, elders, titled men, age grades, and ordinary citizens gathered to deliberate. This is the Orhanaiza, literally, the people and the king, though in truth the king was the people themselves. The council of elders guided by wisdom. The age grades youth organized by generations ensured discipline, labor, and security. The titled societies men who earned status through achievement, not birth, added prestige and order. But most extraordinary of all was the inclusion of women. The Umuada, the Council of Daughters, and the Indi associations of women traders and leaders, held authority to intervene in community affairs. In an age when women were often silenced in global politics, Igbo women commanded respect and power. No decision was made without debate. No verdict was final until consensus was reached. Unlike Western democracy, which glorifies majority rule, Igbo democracy insisted on harmony. The goal was not victory of one side, but unity of all. So what did this democracy look like in daily life? Imagine the village square on market day. Beneath the shade of an iroko tree, villagers gather. A dispute arises. Two men quarrel over farmland. Their families speak. The elders listen. The age grades weigh in. The women's council asks for peace. Voices rise. Arguments clash. But in the end, consensus is sought. Or picture a woman wronged by her husband. She appeals not to a king, but to the Umuada. These women, bound by sisterhood across families, can summon even the most powerful men to account. They speak, they rebuke, they restore harmony. Justice in Igbo society was public, transparent. Everyone knew the process. Everyone could see that fairness, though sometimes slow, was always the goal. This was democracy, not written in parchment scrolls, but lived in the rhythm of daily life.
But Igbo democracy was not only political, it was sacred. At its core stood Ala, the earth goddess. She was the moral compass, the guardian of law, fertility, and community. To commit a crime was not only to offend one's neighbor, but to defile the earth itself. Elders carried the offer staff, sacred wood, symbolizing truth and justice. To swear upon the offer was to stake one's life upon the truth. To hold it falsely was to invite divine punishment. Priests and diviners interpreted the will of the gods. Yet even they did not rule, their guidance was weighed, debated, and integrated into the community's decision. Religion gave weight to the law, but the people remained the guardians of justice.
The engine of this democracy was the market. Igbo markets were not mere places of exchange, but centers of governance and social life. Here, women dominated trade. They set prices, enforced honesty, and punished cheats. The market association acted like both guild and parliament, ensuring fairness for all. Trade links Igbo city-states together and beyond. Cowries flowed from the coast, salt from the north, iron tools from Aka, cloth from Igbo weavers, and pottery from countless villages. Through these networks, ideas, customs, and news traveled, binding the Igbo world in shared culture. The market was more than economy. It was democracy in motion. Every transaction, a vote of trust. Every bargain, a lesson in fairness.
How unique was this? Let us compare. To the west, the Oyo Empire exalted the elephant, a king so powerful he was nearly divine. In Benin, the Oba reigned with grandeur, his palace a fortress of sacred power. In the north, the Hausa states were ruled by emirs, blending Islam and monarchy. Meanwhile, in Europe, Athens praised itself as the cradle of democracy, but its democracy excluded women, foreigners, and slaves. Rome celebrated its Senate, yet bowed to emperors. The Igbo stood apart. No kings, no emperors, no slaves in chains. A society where authority was distributed, where women had institutional power, where the goal was not majority victory, but communal harmony. A democracy not of theory, but of practice. But this ancient system faced its greatest test with the coming of empire. When the British arrived in the late 19th century, they sought to rule Nigeria through indirect rule, governing through existing kings. In the north, emirs served this role. In the west, the Elephant of Oyo and the Oba of Benin were co-opted. But in Igbo land, there were no kings, so the British created them. They appointed warrant chiefs, men given power by colonial decree, not community consent. The result was chaos. Ancient balances were broken, corruption spread, and the people resisted. In 1929, Igbo women rose in defiance. The Abo Women's War, tens of thousands, marching against taxation and warrant chiefs, became one of Africa's greatest acts of anti-colonial resistance. The voice of democracy rose once more, this time against empire itself. Though colonialism scarred Igbo land, the spirit of democracy endured. Today, traces of the old system live on in Nigeria's town unions, community assemblies, and national politics. The Igbo have carried their tradition into the modern age: consultative leadership, fierce debate, and insistence on accountability. In a world still wrestling with dictatorship and corruption, the Igbo remind us of a profound truth. Democracy is not Western. It is human. It is African. Before Greece, before Rome, before Europe claimed the idea, the Igbo of Nigeria built a system where no king ruled, where every voice could be heard, and where justice was the sacred duty of all. This was democracy before democracy, and its echoes still speak today.
And subscribe.